Sean?
I wasn't ready. I lied.
Why did you lie?
I thought I had more time.
Did you eat something?
I put a pretzel in my mouth.
Jesus Christ, Sean. Sean?
Mike?
What is this? A crossover episode? Yowza, yowza, bobowza.
Do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to What Is This, a Crossover episode, the BoJack Horseman podcast, where me, Mike, Mike. I'm the host who has seen the show before, and Sean is my friend who has not seen the show before. And we
me. I'm Sean. Me.
Me, Mike, you,
Me.
Sean.
Me.
I don't know what that was. But anyway, this is a podcast. Today's episode is called Love and/ or Marriage. And
Oh, yeah.
it scored an 8.1 on IMDb. While Todd and BoJack crash a rehearsal dinner, Diane gets high with a client. Princess Carolyn goes on a series of blind dates. Sounds pretty wacky, doesn't it, Sean?
Yeah. It's an episode.
It certainly is an episode. I think it's a decent episode.
Yeah, I liked it. I think I liked one part of it a lot more than the rest.
Okay, we'll get to that. But this
Yeah.
episode aired originally on July 22nd, 2016. And,
God.
you know, like as we do on this show, we go over what happened on that day an episode
Yeah.
releases.
It's in our contract. We can't stop it. You know, this isn't a
So-
choice.
The number one on both music charts, One Dance, Drake featuring WizKid and Kyla. And I can't mention Drake without mentioning his long penis. Speaking of long penises, Hillary Clinton announces Virginia Senator Tim Kaine as her vice presidential running mate.
I still can't believe that. I just can't believe it. You know what? Never mind.
No?
I was gonna bring up the other thing that Drake is known for, but yeah, I think everybody knows.
What's that? I don't know. His music?
Being
from Canada? His love of basketball?
His love of something.
Being on Degrassi in a wheelchair? None of those are what you're talking about?
No, not quite.
Okay, we'll move on then.
Yeah.
A man shoots and kills 9 people at the Olympia shopping mall in Munich, Germany, and then kills himself. Sick.
Sick.
Japan's Funai Electric announced they will manufacture the world's last video cassette this month.
I can't believe they're gonna kill anybody that tries to do it.
It's pretty insane. Thomas Sutherland, American hostage, Lebanon, and academic, dies at 85.
Lebanon.
Ursula
What do you have
Franklin.
against Lebanon?
No, that's just, it's in brackets, so that's how I have to say it.
It kind of sounds like
Lebanon.
you're, looking down on it. Like American Hostage is cool, but it was only in
I'm looking down
Lebanon,
on the thing that they defined this poor man's life, that he was a hostage in Lebanon. Like, that's...
Yeah, that does suck.
Right. Ursula Franklin, German-born Canadian physicist, educator, and activist, developed archaeometry, dies at 94.
Dude, it's crazy to me. We found out last time that what that essentially means is that they didn't fucking do science before that when it came to archaeology. They just kind of dug shit up and were like, yeah, all
Sean,
right.
I felt like that bit kind of hit flat, so I'm gonna adjust the bit today.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna talk about what happened the day after this episode came out.
Ooh.
As surprised to no one, the number one song is still One Dance by Drake, featuring WizKid and Kyla. Famous deaths. Thorbjorn Fälldin, Swedish politician, prime minister, and sheep farmer, dies at 90.
Also, Norse god. That's man.
Thorbjorn. Yeah.
Man.
Named for the Norse god. Suicide bomb in Kabul kills 80 during a protest march. Islamic State claim responsibility. Cool. That's topical. And then... maybe the worst thing on this list, actor Corbin Bleu weds actress Sasha Clements at Hummingbird Nest in Santa Susana, California. Why is that on the list? Corbin Bleu was in High School Musical and then fucked right off. Why is he a celebrity?
I do think, though, that all of this is so in tone with the show. Somehow, I feel like so far we haven't gotten a day where, and I don't know what this says about us as a people, as like humanity, but it's always, every time we've done this, it's been like here's a happy thing. Here's the depths of depravity in humanity. Like, here's an awful thing that happened.
Yes. Sean, you just you revealed to everybody what that segment's actually about.
Oh, I was just putting it together right now.
Yeah, I'm very proud of you for that.
Thank you.
That's when you really think deep about it, that's what the segment's about.
I mean, this is an intellectuals podcast.
It is. It really is. It truly is.
You have to have a high IQ to understand.
Speaking of intellectuals, our boy Edvis 1997.
That one felt a little mean.
He gave this episode an 8 out of 10 and said, wasn't bad. Wasn't masterpiece, just a typical BoJack Horseman episode. And you know what? That's how I feel, Edvis. I agree.
What did he give episode 7 again?
He gave it like a 6, I think.
I liked episode 7 more than this one.
Wait, episode 7? What episode are you on?
Not 7, sorry, 3. I don't.
I was like 7. Sean's in the future. You mean episode 4? Because we're on episode 5.
No, 3.
So the
3 is the one that he didn't like, right?
No, he didn't like the underwater one.
What?
He didn't like either of them.
What?
Edvis has not liked an episode this season. He's been very clear.
I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure I remember.
He's been very clear on this.
I remember because I just remember.
God, you're really gonna make me look, aren't you?
I remember one episode he was like, "This season hasn't been very good," and then the very next one he was like, "This season's looking up."
No. And
I thought it was 3 to 4.
No. Hold on. Edvis, where are you? Edvis, my sweet. Okay, no. So, you're right. He did like 4. He said he was surprised by it, that it was good.
Yeah.
Because everything else he's hated.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought 3 was better. I mean, I don't know better, but I liked it more.
You liked 3 more than 4?
More than 5.
Oh.
More than this one.
Who's on first? Okay.
I wish that this was just a big elaborate bit, but we're just really struggling.
This is an intellectuals podcast.
That should be the slogan. And then just us going, wait, 3 or 4? No, 5.
Welcome to What Is This, a crossover episode, a BoJack Horseman podcast, but more importantly, a podcast for intellectuals.
We can fit that into the opening, right?
Oh yeah, I'm adding it. 100%. Oh. Okay. Well, should we get into this episode now that we've gone through all of our fun things?
Yeah, I think so.
So what I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but normally we start with you telling me what you thought overall of this episode, Sean.
I thought that it had some really good moments, and it felt a little more by the numbers to me. Mm-hmm. I didn't really love, like, I like what happened in terms of if you look at like character and plot, right? Like Princess Carolyn goes on this like her last night out, you know, her last day off or whatever. And I mean, it's a fun sequence of little vignettes of the dates, and it comes to like a sweet conclusion at the end, but it wasn't like, I wasn't super entertained by that. I don't know how much I liked the Diane part of the episode. I did not like it, but it felt, again, very like, we're trying to get some character work to happen here. Let's just get it out. BoJack's was probably the one that I liked the most. BoJack and Todd.
Okay.
Because we'll talk about Todd. There's something going on there. And I just think like BoJack has the good line in it, so I enjoyed that.
So this episode is definitely a setup episode for sure. We're kind of getting to the end of the Secretariat stuff and moving on to what's going to be next for these characters, or at least not backlash, but the results of Secretariat finally being released, right?
Yeah.
And what that means for BoJack and Todd, but also, Princess Carolyn settling into her agency that she started.
Yeah.
And Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter are still trying to work through their issues with therapy. So, but it's setting up some stuff for a little bit down the line in season 3. That's pretty cool stuff. And I can say that with the benefit of hindsight, right?
Yeah.
But either way, I still think this is a decent BoJack Horseman episode.
Yeah.
It starts with Todd and BoJack, and Secretariat's going to be in theaters, and Todd is just like saying, like literally everything that BoJack's anxiety is probably saying to him about what if it's a success, what if it's not. He's just literally echoing probably what's going through BoJack's head, and we get a bunch of different scenes where he's like doing normal things, and Todd is just like, but what if it? Then they'll think you're just a loser for the rest of your life, and like going, And he gets a call that the East Coast box office is in, and it was a huge success. And BoJack does this like he puts on sunglasses and goes awesome, and I remember this from like vaguely from the time. Is that like trying to like mimic some kind of meme at the time? I think it is.
Well, I think so. I think like it's like the cool guy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh
they have the lens flare, and he goes awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely like action hero.
I think there was like some very specific meme at the time though that they were trying to reference, but I don't remember. I just like vaguely in my head remember that.
Yeah, I like in this scene, Todd is talking about. I think it's Todd talking about what the critics said about Secretariat at the festival. And he's like, the critics called Secretariat gurgle gurgle glub glub.
Yeah. And BoJack says festivals are just to put leaves on your poster.
Yeah.
So you can tell he doesn't really care about that. We have the opening, and then we go to Mr. Peanut Butter and Diane in therapy, and he all of his feelings boil down to the Jamaican bobsled team that the movie Cool Runnings was based off.
Yeah.
And at one point he just keeps saying Jamaican bobsledders. That's right, okay. Diane. Jamaican bobsledders. This
is kind of unrelated, but just on the idea of like being in a serious conversation and you just keep bringing up a random movie. I watched John Oliver this week, and he, in between like segments, played a bunch of clips of some U.S. senator. I can't remember who it was, but it was like 10 or 15 different times on the floor of the Senate that he would somehow bring up Groundhog Day starring Bill Murray. It was like, he's like, it's kind of like that movie Groundhog Day starring Bill Murray. I have a picture here of Bill Murray. And it was more times than it should be. And Mr. Peanut Butter made me think about that.
Yeah. For whatever reason, his feelings are just boiled down to the Jamaican bobsledding team for Cool Runnings.
Yeah. Although, on a more serious note with this scene, I feel like it's not super fair. Or not fair, but I feel like it kind of sucks a little bit in terms of it doesn't seem like Mr. Peanut Butter really gives Diane time to actually speak. And like Diane doesn't open up, but I felt like by the end of the scene, the therapist was like, Diane, one of us needs to work on opening up more. And I was like, and maybe the other one needs to learn to shut up.
Right.
Like, what are you, why are you just singling her out right now? Like, I don't know. That rubbed me the wrong way.
And you know, the marriage counselor is actually the actress voicing her is actually Tony Soprano's psychiatrist.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, she Diane kind of just says, Mr. Peanut Butter, I think you are great. And you can tell she has a hard time with it, but they definitely aren't giving her the environment
support
where she can do that, right?
Yeah.
Because he's just going on and on about how he feels, and he's like,
Yeah.
and so, I like the alarm that the psychiatrist has. Like, it's like an air raid alarm that goes off when their time's up. And she kind of is like, hey, like, one of you needs to open up more. You know, and like they Mr. Peanut Butter at one point points at himself, and she goes, "No, not you." You know, and so it's like, yeah, way to beat around the bush there. We cut to Princess Carolyn's agency where Judah, sweet boy, love Judah.
Yes, love Judah.
He picks their dental care package, which is the whole tooth and nothing but the tooth.
Yeah,
it's not very comprehensive. But he asks her about a pay raise, or he goes to what seems like ask her about a pay raise, and she goes, "You want a pay raise?" He goes, "I actually think like ownership stake in the company would be a better solution." And she's like, "Okay, yeah, you know." So
I'm so curious about how this is gonna go, because he's too good of a person.
You think so?
I just for this show, like either something horrible is gonna happen to him, or this is all some long con to really fuck over Princess Carolyn and take it from her,
right?
Like take the company.
I mean, his name is Judah, which is very,
I wasn't even thinking about
similar
that.
to Judas.
Yeah.
Known traitor.
Maybe he's been hired by Rutabaga to.
Oh, okay. Well, wow. This is. Hold on. This is. Isn't that
the?
No, you're right. But this is a very Kingdom Hearts theory of you, Sean. This is very.
Isn't it Kingdom Hearts theory? I think I'm more going like Rutabaga's hired him. You know, it's like corporate espionage.
Yeah. I don't mean Kingdom Hearts is in the content, is in the reach.
Oh, okay.
You're reaching on that one.
I think she's just gonna hurt him somehow. It's like I threw her own, not like, you know, like I don't think she's gonna lose it and beat him, but I think like
there's gonna be some sort of conflict there.
Yeah, I feel like she doesn't care as much about other people as he seems to. He seems a lot nicer, and I think that's gonna cause problems at some point.
Right. But the point of this whole scene is that something canceled, some appointment she had canceled, and she actually has the night off, and she jokingly says, "Get me a date. Never mind, get me 3 dates." And he doesn't handle sarcasm well, so he actually does it, but we'll get to that later. Bojack and Todd go out in the town wearing the exact same suit. Don't know why that is, but Bojack's a big celebrity whose movie went well, so he can have whatever he wants, and they boot Kiefer Sutherland out of his seat.
When did this come out again?
2016.
I'm trying to think of what he was doing in 2016.
Getting booted out of his seat. That's what he was doing.
I guess he was on Designated Survivor.
I don't know what that is.
It was a bad network political drama show.
So Bojack's living the lap of luxury here. You know, he's getting his cigar lit for him. They're talking about how great a night's going to be. And Emily, who we met in the earlier in the season during the flashback episode.
Yep. Okay.
Who was a friend of Todd's in high school, shows up, and she's like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you since high school." And they talk for a little bit. And then Bojack's, lamenting that the conversation isn't about him. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I love the BoJack Horseman show." And he's like, "You mean horsing around?" And she's like, "No, the BoJack Horseman show. It was so bad, it's funny." And just like for a long time reiterates that she didn't think there was any artistic merit in the show.
Yeah.
Just that it was funny because of how bad it was.
She says, "My enjoyment didn't come from any sincere admiration." And that line really killed me.
Yeah.
It's just so like, it's so clinical.
Right. She's there because she's at a rehearsal dinner, which I have a question about this rehearsal dinner.
It's like at a bar.
It looks like a wedding.
It does.
I don't know that I've ever. I mean, I've been to a rehearsal dinner, but they're not usually this formal and big, right? Aren't they usually like?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because this looked like a wedding.
It did.
So when they're making the joke about rehearsal dinner the whole episode, but I'm just sitting there like, this is a wedding.
Well, but also I think that kind of fits because she's the only one calling it a rehearsal dinner.
That's
throughout
true.
the whole episode.
Emily's the only one calling it that. Well, like,
So I think
does
maybe
the
the
dad give a
implication is-
speech at the rehearsal dinner?
No, I think maybe the bit is supposed to be that everybody's way too into this, and she's the only one that is like, hey, this isn't the actual point. Like that's in a few days or whatever.
So after we meet Emily and Bojack and Todd decide they're going to crash the rehearsal dinner, we get back to Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter's house, and Diane's lamenting that she doesn't feel like she can really discuss her feelings and that Mr. Peanut Butter's so good at it and she's bad at it. And, he's like, it's okay, he's being very supportive, or at least in the way he's supportive. And she gets a text from Alexi Brosifino.
Yeah. Who is this joke about?
So I don't know who the joke's about. He's voiced by Dave Franco.
Oh.
Who's married to Alison Brie.
Yeah.
This seems like a very specific 2016 joke that I don't remember what or why.
I assume they're making fun of some actor, but I don't know who.
I mean, in my head, it's like it's James Franco, right? But like, that seems a little on the nose that Dave Franco is voicing him.
I guess, is that supposed to be like the people he hang out with, or like the Freaks and Geeks cast, kind of? Like,
yeah, that, and maybe Shit Show is Seth Rogen. I don't know. Like, that's what popped into my head. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's been a group like that other than those guys.
Yeah, I can't really think of anybody but them. I mean, in terms of actors and stuff.
And maybe it was a group that hasn't stood the test of time, and that's why we don't remember what the joke is.
Yeah.
But they're called the Snatch Batch.
I mean, it's definitely like, it's not a Rat Pack joke, is it? That's too old.
Yeah, it's definitely not that, because they're definitely more modern than that, right? Like it's. Yeah, I don't really understand what the joke is other than he's a celebrity and they're all celebrities and they're bros and they hang out. I mean, it's almost like it almost had to be like a Vine thing, like a Logan Paul thing. But these guys are clearly actors and Logan Paul is clearly not that. So I don't know who exactly they're lampooning here.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd have to get into a time machine to know.
I was trying to look up like what like offshoots or what kind of like groups there are that were like the Rat Pack. Because what was the name of the thing in the show again?
The Snatch Batch.
Because that sounds like it's trying to sound like Rat Pack or something. It was the Frat Pack, who was like Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, Will Ferrell, Steve Carell, them. That doesn't really fit, I don't think.
No. That's what I'm saying. It's almost got to be like a social media group, like a Vine thing.
And then the other one was Brat Pack, which was like RDJ, Rob Lowe, Anthony Michael Hall. But again, I don't know Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, I can't think of a group that's like stood the test. I mean, I guess they wouldn't have to stand the test time. They would just had to been popular when they were writing this episode, right? But
yeah.
I can't. I just can't. I don't think we're gonna figure it out. I think we got to move on.
I don't think so either. Probably.
But one thing that happens funny before she tells Mr. Peanut Butter she has to go hang with these guys for her work is that he wanted to watch Bones with her, and she goes, "I don't think Bones is what you want it to be about." Which is really
Mr.
funny.
Peanut Butter live his dream,
right,
you know?
Right.
And honestly, later on, kind of does end up being what he wants.
Yeah, he kind of ends up liking it. We get a quick scene where Princess Carolyn, it's confirmed to her that she has her 3 dates, and Judah's like, "Oh, I'm not good with jokes, blah blah blah." We talked about that already.
Yep.
Bojack and Todd crash the rehearsal dinner with Emily.
Yep.
And the dad goes, "Bojack Horseman, this is the best day of my life." Not because his daughter's getting married, but because it's Bojack Horseman. And Bojack, they kind of, again, it's another short scene where they just kind of show up. Because this episode kind of jumps all over between these three.
Yeah.
Diane shows up at the bros' house. One of the guys just has a shirt on that says, "I like shirt." That made me laugh a lot. And we meet Shit Show, who's like a lizard,
Yeah.
and he just like does raspberries all day. And then she tries to make fun of him, and they're like, "Hey, only we can make fun of him because he's our friend."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But one thing that's important about this scene is it's clear he did not expect Diane to show up. When she gets there, he's like, "Oh, you're Diane, right?" And so, but to his credit, he hangs out anyway, you know. And
he does a really good job of handling everything that happens next.
He just doesn't like. He doesn't seem like a bad guy, right?
No,
because I think a douchebag celebrity guy would have been like, "Oh, I didn't invite you over," or "Who the fuck are you?" Right?
I mean, obviously, like, it's not cool to have not like owned up to the mistake, like to have lied, but at least he did it out of like kindness,
right?
You know?
Right, and he wasn't like a dick, you know. And it seemed like they were just chilling, having a good time. Like it didn't seem like it was.
And even like after she found out, he was like, "No, come back. It's fine. You're cool. It's, you know."
We get in on Princess Carolyn's first date, who's a guy in the auto glass industry.
Yeah, and we call it the industry because we look down on everyone else.
I think we're more important than everybody else. So that first date sucks. And then Bojack's... No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was watching this and I thought back, a mutual friend of ours, another Sean, and he was just in town recently and we went out, and when we got drinks, we were sat next to the worst first date ever. And it just reminded me of this. This guy was like, he would say something, she would disagree, and then he'd go, "Yeah, actually, yeah, that's what I think too."
Oh no. Someone was in desperation mode.
Yeah, it was bad, and watching this episode made me think of that.
We cut back to the rehearsal where Bojack is giving his speech, and it kind of sucks. It's like it's a very fluffy, like, you know when you find your person and they complete you and da-da, and it's like, to us, obviously, they all don't know Bojack very well, but to us, it's very hollow because he hasn't done that, right?
No.
And so he's just giving this speech that kind of is just hollow, but everybody's cheering for it. Meanwhile, Emily and Todd, she's sharing a story about how her Uber driver, they're scared to say Uber, but her Uber driver touched her hair, and Todd goes, "Man, it'd be nice if there was a rideshare app for women." And she goes, "That is a great idea. Todd, you always have good ideas." He goes, "Yeah, like a mini cupcake gun." Is that guy trying to kill himself? Nope, just a cupcake gun.
That might be one of my favorite lines in the whole episode.
And she's like, "No, go back to the other idea." And he's like, "Which idea?" He's already forgotten the good idea he had.
He's so lots of thoughts about this. First of all, he's so self-sabotaging because I feel like this is like a good, like, if he had somebody that was supportive like Mr. Peanut Butter, but smarter than Mr. Peanut Butter, he might have a better shot at life. You know? At the same time, I think this joke probably landed better in 2016 because Uber, whoever just tried to do something like that and immediately got like, I don't think they're doing it anymore because everybody just shit on them about it.
I think
and got mad.
There I don't want to spoil anything, but stay tuned.
Okay. Well, maybe they're being prescient about it.
Yeah.
But I noticed when they were talking about that, I was like, that just happened pretty recently.
Yeah. And then there's the after Bojack does his speech, he gives the mic over to one of the bridesmaids who is just the whole time saying Karen and Tanisha. And this is really funny to me because I've been to a few weddings. You know, I'm at the age where like most of my friends are married, and I've seen a lot of best man or bridesmaid speeches. And I have a buddy who had his best man be his brother, his younger brother, and his brother at the time was probably like 17, right? So he was pretty young.
Yeah.
And the bridesmaid went first and like gave a decent, pretty normal speech. Mm-hmm. But everybody was like, "Aw," and then he came up And you can tell he didn't write down shit. He's nervous. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he goes, so I'm not going to use names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but Steve's my brother. And, and then just starts bawling.
Oh, no.
And goes, I don't know, man. He's just my brother, man. And everybody's like, oh, no. And hugs him. And I was man. You fucking genius. You fucking genius. You just saved your whole ass by crying.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It might be the best play because I feel like everybody talks shit about the best man speeches. So maybe just going up there and just breaking into tears is the best way to get out of the situation.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I've given a best man speech before.
Yeah, but like you're good at that kind of stuff.
And I fucking killed. I
know you did.
I had people I've never met before come up to me and go, man, that speech was great. Great job. I don't know you. You don't have to say that to me, but my speech was that good. So, and it was a situation where it was a co-best man, and I went first. Oh, it was great. Anyway, that's my best man story. So Diane ends up taking the drugs with the snatch pack. What are they called?
I don't know, dude.
The snatch batch? What the fuck
snack
are they called?
No, it's the snatch batch, I think.
Is it? The snatch batch. Okay. Yep. All right.
Yeah, something like that.
And they're not taking Molly because it's not 2013 anymore, but they're taking what did they call it?
It was like juice or something.
It was it was some word that should not be a drug. She's like, well, here we go, and it takes a minute to kick in, huh?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it doesn't work right away.
I liked I think it's in that part as well. She's trying, like, they're all talking and they're like, how did you meet Shit Show or whatever? And I think one of them's like, oh yeah, we saw his TED Talk.
Yeah.
And dude, what was Shit Show's TED Talk about? I want to know so bad.
Dude has been into his phone and just raspberrying the whole time. That's literally all he's done.
He might be the coolest.
He might be. We cut to Princess Carolyn's second date, and it's with a rhinocologist.
I'm sorry. The last albino rhino gyno.
Who's also a wine addict.
Yes.
Not a wino. So this is like the start of the writers writing these tongue twister dialogue for Princess Carolyn. And because the actress whose name escapes me, but she's on The Mandalorian, she's on a lot of things, hates it.
Oh,
Amy Sedaris. She hates it. And so they were purposely writing her
That's awesome.
These tongue twister dialogue. And it's really funny to me.
I love those kinds of. Albino Rhino Gyno killed me.
Yeah. Also, the idea that she's like, who are you to tell a woman what? And he goes, I'm actually a gynecologist and I specialize in fertility. And it's like, like the one time where it's like, yeah, this guy probably knows what he's talking about, you know?
Yeah.
For pretty funny stuff. So again, not a good date for her. Todd and Emily are sitting at the rehearsal, and they're talking about the all-woman rideshare app. And she goes, would your girlfriend be okay with me working on this with you? And he goes, oh, God, this is so embarrassing for you, but I don't have a girlfriend. Man, you look really dumb right now. What a crazy assumption for you to make. How embarrassing.
I feel like I've heard you quote this before.
Really?
I feel like I've heard you go, this is so embarrassing for you right now.
I mean, I think that's just the thing people say, but but you're right. This does tickle my funny bone. Bojack comes up and is like, hey, here's this hotel room that I booked. Maybe you guys should go test the bed. And she is down.
Yeah.
From the get-go. And Todd seems very uncomfortable.
Yeah. This is the start of I'm not sure exactly where this is going. There's a couple different avenues this could be going. Have we seen him date somebody before in the show?
The only thing we've seen is in the flashback episode earlier this season, they dated 7 Minutes in Heaven, these two.
Yeah. So I mean,
and I think they might have been dating at one point, maybe. I don't remember. I don't. but just no. Basically, the answer is no.
Yeah. There's kind of two different paths with this. Like, I think my first thought was maybe he's gay.
Okay.
That might be overthinking it. And I mean, the easier answer could just be, well, we saw his first time was interrupted in the flashback. Maybe he's just never, maybe he's a virgin still. And that's why he's freaking out.
Okay.
I feel like he's acting too weird for that about this. But I think that's the more likely of the two.
So you think he's either gay or he's just embarrassed about his past?
I think probably. I think those are the two that I came up with.
Okay.
Because he acts weird in this episode.
He does.
Around her specifically.
He does.
So
there's another scene later we'll get to where we'll talk about it a little more. But important to note right now that Tanisha decides the wedding is off based on Bojack's speech. Because she doesn't know that Karen is the one. Tanisha, by the way, played by Tessa Thompson in this episode.
Oh, awesome.
And just like a very like not necessary casting. I mean, I guess at the time she wasn't as big as she is now, but just like a bit like side character that she's voicing. Yeah. So the wedding's off. We cut back to the party where Diane is figures out that she was the wrong Diane because one of the guys goes, "Hey, did you text that side piece, Diane?
Yeah.
Was that her name?" And then she kind of, wouldn't it be funny if this, and then she goes, "Oh, that's what's happening here."
Yeah.
And as she runs out, the drugs start kicking in. And he chases after her, and a bunch of like, they have this like aura around them as they because of the drugs, and I think it's really funny. Her eyes are like super dilated. Their arms are like rubbery, like they do a really good job of conveying the drugs. And he, like you said earlier, to his credit, he's a nice guy, but he says, "Hey, like there's no, like, this isn't high school. Like you're having a good time with us. Come hang out with us. And besides, you're really high right now. Like you did a lot of this drug." And she goes, "I only took one." He goes, "Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot."
But she says, "I feel so much love," and he's like, "Yeah, me too." And she goes, "No, I got to tell my husband." So
I was so scared for a second.
They definitely wanted you to feel like that she was going to do something stupid, and then she just goes, "My husband." So she runs home. One thing to mention as we cut back to Princess Carolyn for her last date, they did this valet snail bit. I don't know if you noticed this. Where before the last date, she handed her keys to the snail, and he just slowly made his way to go get her car. And then this one, she's going to get in her car, and it's just covered in snail slime, and she's like, "Ugh." I can't think of an animal worse setup to do a job than a snail as a valet. The last date is a mouse.
Yeah.
And so they're immediately just like, this is gonna be a disaster. But he's a smarter guy than he lets on. He goes, I could eat something, and there's this little hole in the wall that has great cheese.
Yeah.
A lot of everything he says is kind of a mouse pun, which I think is pretty funny.
Was the milk too much? Because if you give me a cookie,
exactly. He says that one later. But it's and I guess I'll just say this now. They end up hitting it off and having a good time. And he says, "When can we go out again?" And she's like, "Well, we really can't. This is my only night I had off." And he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what. Here's my business card. Call me when you do have time. Otherwise, I will find someone else and invite you to the wedding."
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny. And he goes, "You don't have to come, but please send a gift." So he's got some riz, this Ralph.
Yeah.
This is how the internet's ruined me.
He was killing it.
The internet's ruined me because I was going to say he's got some charisma, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to say riz. And I regretted it.
You should.
I do.
Okay, I'm glad.
Bojack ruined the wedding, right?
Yes.
And the dad says, "Hey, you need to go talk to Tanisha." Meanwhile, Todd is avoiding bringing Emily into the hotel room. He talks about how his stomach hurts. He gives every reason as to why it cannot happen and leaves her outside. And she's like, "What just happened?"
That's what I was thinking too.
And then I'll just say this now. At the end of the episode, in like this little montage they do, he's seen laying on the bed, kind of like tracing his finger on the mattress, like very anxious and uncomfortable. And this is where I reveal to you, Sean, you are wrong about both your theories.
Oh, okay.
It's something else. But they definitely are building towards something.
God,
and
then
I think a lot of people that I've seen, at least on the internet, say it's one of their favorite things about Todd. So I'm excited for you to and that it's handled well, like the show handles it well. So
the only other thing I can think of is asexual.
That is another thing that you could think, for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll get there when we get there. But I just want to let you know he's not gay.
Okay.
And he's not embarrassed. Well, he might be embarrassed, but not because...
I mean, I feel like he's probably embarrassed, but...
So then we come back to BoJack, who goes into the women's restroom to talk to Tanisha and gives this speech. And I have it right here, word for word.
Yeah. Also, I just want to write, like, right when this was starting, my note goes, oh no, the sad BoJack piano started.
Yes. You knew what we were getting into. It's the moment of the episode that makes you feel like shit. Tanisha, nobody completes anybody. That's not a real thing. If you're lucky enough to find someone you can halfway tolerate, you sink your nails in and you don't let go no matter what. And she says, so what? I should just settle? Yes. Thank you. Exactly. Settle. Because otherwise you're just going to get older and harder and more alone, and you're going to do everything you can to fill that hole with friends and your career and meaningless sex, but the hole doesn't get filled. And one day you're going to look around and you're going to realize that everybody loves you, but nobody likes you. And that is the loneliest feeling in the world.
Whoa. That was a rough speech he gave.
Yeah.
That was... Yeah.
Tough speech. Very, very, very tough speech, and obviously more effective than his other speech.
Yes.
Or made more sense to Tanisha than his... Well, actually, both of them made sense to Tanisha, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's definitely more in line with how he feels, and it's him being more himself.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is good advice.
No, yeah.
But it's BoJack definitely believes it, as opposed to what he said earlier on during the speech at the wedding.
Well, yeah, I mean, he believes it because that's his reality,
right?
At least his perceived one, you know, like. And I think to me, it's an interesting one. It's I think an interesting but more accurate take on loneliness. Which, because you see a lot of times when like loneliness is depicted in media, it's like total isolation. And I think that what BoJack like hits on here is he's gonna like you're gonna look around and you're gonna realize everyone loves you. Like you still have people that care about you, but nobody likes you. And that's different, you know?
Yeah. No one knows who you really are, you know?
Yeah. And it's just, you know, it's a different connection between like a significant other and their partner, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's the it's just a different relationship. I don't think I've ever seen loneliness depicted like that explicitly, with that caveat given, essentially, of you can still be lonely even if you have a million friends.
Right.
You know? I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, is a lot of, you know, it's depicted as like total loner, total isolation from everybody else. But BoJack is kind of saying here, like, look, I know I've got people that care about me. I know that I have a lot of stuff going for me right now, but I'm still lonely.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that this show consistently does well, is represent certain things that maybe in media haven't been represented well, and represent them more true to life.
Yeah.
And they just consistently do that, and it's pretty incredible how consistent it is, and that's how you can have a character like BoJack who's done awful, devious, outright terrible things, and still relate to him on some level, because what he's saying is an experience that maybe isn't universal, but a lot of people feel, right?
It's very human. He's a very human character.
Horse. 100%. He's definitely more man than horse, you know?
Yeah.
To answer the
so
question.
are we deciding that officially in season 3?
I've known it the whole time, but I think you're coming around.
This is when I'm realizing it. Yeah.
I think you're coming around on it.
Now, with Mr. Peanut Butter, is he more man or dog?
He's definitely more dog. And so we're going to cut back to them where Diane shows up drugged up, and she says, Mr. PEANUTNUMBER. Like, she can't say his name, and I think it's so funny. She talks about, hey, I'm really bad at this, but I love you, and it takes the drugs to get me to say it better, which is the whole problem in its own right. But, and he's just like, okay. And then she's like, I'm going to carry my man to bed. And she's struggling to do that because he's a large dog. And she falls and breaks her arm.
Yeah.
And that causes him to go to the hospital where she gets he says, your arm's broken and you should stay off the drugs for now, especially now. And she's like, why? And he goes, you're pregnant. And she goes, motherfuck. And that's how the episode ends. There is one more scene with Princess Carolyn that I skipped over where she goes back to the office. Judah's there working still. And he goes, oh, it's nighttime. I didn't realize. And she's kind of touched by her life here where he made all these cards that she has to sign and put personal greetings on all of them. And he wrote his own, like, Judah, you're a great employee and a great person or something like that. And she smiles and signs it. So there's that. But yeah, the episode ends with Diane getting cut off saying motherfucker because the doctor says they're pregnant. And also, I kind of skipped over we talked about the montage earlier, but there's a montage of Todd laying on the bed, running his finger along the mattress. And then Emily walks up to BoJack at the bar and is kind of like, hey.
I'm so worried about where that's going to go.
So, and, if we know anything about BoJack, he is not going to hesitate to do that. So there's that as well. But yeah, so that's the episode. Ends in a very, very interesting way.
I like Mr. Peanut Butter brought up once again. He does not remember what the reason for the spaghetti strainers was.
Yes, but I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Diane talks about how Mr. Peanut Butter is good for her, and the reason that she gives is kind of like feels codependent.
Yeah,
like she's like, I'm not good at this, but you are, so I use you to do like. That's why you're good for me. And I'm not entirely certain.
I don't know. I mean, in a relationship,
there's definitely some of that.
There's definitely some of that. There are things that Tara does really well that I don't do well, and things that I do well that she doesn't do well, and so we lean on each other. But that shouldn't be the reason you're with somebody, right?
It shouldn't be the reason, and I feel like if it complicates communication and makes it difficult, then it's kind of like I feel like that's probably not that great.
Right.
I like her going out drugs. I thought we were friends.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really funny. And one other thing that was brought up that is, I assume, going to be important is they planned that they're going to take a trip to the Labrador Peninsula.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes. Where
Mr. Peanut Butter is from.
Yeah, where he grew up. Yeah. The Labrador Peninsula.
I'm so excited to see whatever the hell that's going to be.
Yeah, that's fun. I forgot about that. I'm excited for that. Okay, so we should probably do the categories unless there's anything else you have to say.
No. What's your favorite animal-based joke?
Probably the snail.
Okay.
The snail. Why can't I think of the word?
Valet.
Valet. Thank you. The snail valet.
I think mine was albino rhino gyno.
Yep, that's a good one too.
It's really good. Your favorite bit overall? I feel like this episode didn't have like a lot of like running bits.
Yeah, it didn't have a lot of bits. I'll say just shit show.
Oh yeah.
I'll say shit show is my favorite bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that one. I think it's shit show.
Yeah.
What about your quote?
It's got to be what BoJack says in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I just think
so.
It's the moment of the episode,
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm going to, because that's the one that I was gonna say. Or I was between two, but since you said that one, I'm gonna say, is that guy trying to kill himself? Nope, it's just a cupcake gun.
That's a good one too. Yeah, no, that's a good bit.
I think that's the funny one, and we have like the more serious one with BoJack in the bathroom. So,
all right. So next episode is called Brap Brap Pew Pew.
Okay.
It's an 8.0 IMDb rating, so 1.1
Okay.
less than this one.
Okay.
And the blurb here is Diane's tweet lands Sextina Aquafina in hot water.
Oh, no.
Prankster and A-list actor George Clooney gets under Bojack's skin.
I wonder who that is referring to.
So I will tell you he's voiced by Jay Moore.
Okay.
So not who you would think he's voiced by,
Well,
but
I
he's
mean,
definitely
I
supposed to
didn't-
be somebody.
Yeah, I didn't think they were gonna get him to voice the character.
You never know.
You never know. I guess I kind of assume it's probably gonna make fun of him. I think I make a joke about ruining Batman.
Okay, you're throwing that out there.
It's just I feel like whenever anybody does like a parody of who we're talking about, you gotta. Or I don't know if you have to, but they always go for the Batman joke.
We'll see. I don't remember specifically a Batman joke, but you could be right. And I will tell you, this episode tackles a pretty controversial subject.
Oh, okay, interesting.
For people, not for me.
Oh, okay, okay,
but for
okay.
people, and still to this day is a very controversial subject.
Okay,
So,
that'll be fun.
So be ready for that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of What Is This, a Crossover episode. Please, like, subscribe, share, email us at, what email? squidboysspq@gmail.com. You could use that email for this because we are, in fact, the Squid Boys. And, let us know what you thought of the episode. Sean. I don't know what I was going to say because I'm not supposed to prompt you to end the episode.
No,
do you have anything
not,
else to say to anybody before you end the episode?
That's it for me.
I got all crossed up.
Okay, Mr. Joker.
I got all crossed up. The Joker as Tim Robinson is not a crossover I thought I was going to get today.
No.
I'm trying to think of something he would say. This is a terrible bit. Can you please just end the episode?
Suck a dick, dumb shits!
Bye.
Bye.